Welcome to the Academic Language webinar series brought to you in collaboration with the Nebraska Department of Education, NEMTSS, and the Region 11 Comprehensive Center. My name is Ann Hubble, and I am a Title III EL Specialist at NDE.
And my name is Brooke Gabers, and I'm the Region 3 Support Lead for Nebraska MTSS.
My name is Jeanette King, and I'm the Nebraska Liaison for the Region 11 Comprehensive Center at McREL International.
This four-part webinar series will cover 4 practical concepts that can be employed immediately at Tier 1 core to support the use of academic language. These concepts are essential for the success of multilingual learners, but they are good for all students. In this webinar, we will be addressing language output as part 4 of the series.
This is a poster available as a PDF link below the video. As you can see, we've identified a few key bullets that represent language output that we'll address later in the webinar. Let's define academic language. According to Todd Finley, a professor of education at East Carolina University and former teacher, academic language is the verbal clothing we use in formal settings that supports students in becoming college, career, and community ready. There are 2 highlighted areas to consider: the language of instruction that is used across content areas and the language of a specific discipline or content area. We also want to clarify the language usage that you may hear throughout the webinar. The Nebraska Department of Education honors students' language abilities as an asset and values the many languages multilingual learners, or MLs, bring to enrich classrooms in Nebraska. Using the term ML emphasizes the importance of respecting home language as students are simultaneously learning English in Nebraska schools. In addition to the term ML, English learner, or EL, is the term used in federal and state policy, which is why you may hear the 2 used interchangeably. Throughout this webinar, we will define language output as a practical concept to enhance Tier 1 core and support the use of academic language. Reflect on the importance of language output for all students, especially multilingual learners. Identify current practices to enhance language output, and we will share language output strategies that you can employ at Tier 1 core immediately.
What does language output mean? First, let's talk about some non-examples of language output. Students will acquire social language on their own. Educators don't need to worry about promoting social language in the classroom. There should be a purpose to the speaking tasks students are asked to do, and educators can help build academic language when they provide structured opportunities for students to speak. A non-example might be just telling students to turn and talk without any prior discussion of what they should look like or any supports to help them in their discussions. Students need explicit directions and structures to support them in using academic language. I have observed many opportunities lost when a teacher accepts a single word response, such as yes or no, or the answer to the question. The teacher could have modeled using part of the question to provide a complete sentence response and provided an opportunity to use more academic language by expecting students to respond in complete sentences. There are many opportunities to use academic language through speaking and writing in the classroom. Teachers just need to be aware of these opportunities and take advantage of them. Providing structured conversations and supports, such as word walls, vocabulary cards, sentence frames, and speaking routines, are all great examples of providing language outputs. When preparing a lesson, think about the content students need to understand and the skills students need to demonstrate. How can a student talk about their new learning? Could they write their thoughts and then with structured supports and partner time share with a partner? Could they share ideas with structured supports with a partner and then write about their new learning? Creating purposeful, intentional, and explicit opportunities to practice language isn't difficult. It just needs to be something all teachers are aware of and practice. Later in this webinar, we'll give some concrete strategies to support you in fostering some of these examples on the screen. This quote by Dr. Stephen Krashen highlights the ability to produce language. The ability to produce is the result of language acquisition, not the cause. Students need to understand the messages they receive. This is comprehensible input. Then language output can happen.
So why does language output matter? We know that research supports the connections between language output and language acquisition. We wanted to provide you with a few resources for your reference. Remember, students need to both understand and use academic language to succeed in class and on assessment. Now that we know a little bit more about what language output is and that the research tells us it's important, let's address a few ways you can increase language output in your classroom. We begin with comprehensible input. Students at the emerging level, that purple ball on the graph there, depend on the comprehensible input, and they will have limited language output, a few key words and phrases. We still have high expectations for high ability thinking or higher order thinking skills and use of key academic vocabulary. As language develops, students still need that comprehensible input and are able to produce more language output.
Universally designing your instruction is another way to increase language output. Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, is a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. When we talk about language output, we're referring to the third principle of the framework, action and expression, or thinking about how learners demonstrate their knowledge and express themselves. Learners differ in the ways that they can navigate a learning environment and express what they know. For example, some students may be able to express themselves well in written text, but not speech, or vice versa. It should also be recognized that action and expression require a great deal of strategy, practice, and organization, and this is another area in which learners can differ. In reality, there's not one means of action and expression that will be optimal for all learners. Providing options for action and expression is essential. We'll address some examples of what it looks like to provide multiple means of action and expression in the next objective. There are many strategies that promote academic language and give all students opportunities to use that academic language. We'll highlight a few, but we want you to remember the main points. Students should be supported with structured opportunities to speak and write. All students should participate. Appropriate word banks and sentence structures should be provided, and the strategies should be purposeful, intentional, and explicit. The first strategy we want to share is the 10-2 or 5-1 method. It's sometimes called chunk and chew. In this strategy, the teacher speaks or gives instructions for 10 minutes and then gives processing time to discuss for 2 minutes. A recommendation of 5-1 in the elementary is given, and no more than 10 minutes of talking for secondary students. A good rule of thumb is that the person doing the speaking is the one doing the learning. Teachers might consider speaking less and giving opportunities for students to speak more. This strategy also supports universal design in that it enhances capacity for monitoring progress and helps build fluencies with graduated levels of support for practice and performance. During processing time, consider using strategies like think, pair, share, round robin, or four corners. A little bit ago, we introduced the UDL framework and emphasized the importance of providing multiple means of action and expression to increase language output. Here are a few ideas of what it might look like to put that into practice. Teachers can provide multiple ways for students to demonstrate their understanding of the content, such as written assignments, oral presentations, and multimedia projects. This can help multilingual learners showcase their strengths and express their understanding of the content in ways that align with their linguistic and cultural backgrounds. The use of total physical response to check for understanding is another great example of providing multiple means of action and expression. This could also include role-playing, song, and physical movement in learning experiences, or using technology to support language acquisition and content learning.
Providing sentence frames, stems, and structures is a strategy that models for students the correct sentence structure. For students at the very beginning stages of language acquisition, frames provide the most support. Students only need to supply one or two key words. A blank, canyon, forms by blank, erosion. As students develop more language, sentence stems can be used to help get them started. Stems provide the first part of the sentence. I could determine the age of a canyon by, and the student completes the sentence, studying the layers of rock. Students are able to produce more, but still need help with the structure. As students progress in their usage of the English language, teachers can teach and guide them in moving from simple to compound to complex sentence structures and accurate grammatical features. Here are 3 tasks to help teach sentence structures. Task 1 is a sentence scramble. Cards with words or phrases can be scrambled so that students have to put them together to create a sentence. This can be as simple as a subject on one card, maybe canyon, and a predicate on the other, forms by erosion. These can become more sophisticated as students gain more English. Task 2 is talk, label, write. This task asks students to talk with a partner or triad about an image or object. Students then discuss and the different parts and words that they know about the image or object and then label them. Then students can use the labels to help them generate and write sentences. Task 3 asks students to move from a simple sentence, for example, the Grand Canyon is beautiful, to a compound sentence. The Grand Canyon is beautiful and many people travel there. To a complex sentence. Many people visit the Grand Canyon every year because it is one of the most beautiful places in the United States. The strategy of using sentence frames, stems, and structures makes academic language visible for all students. Here we can also make connections back to the universal design for learning and guiding students information processing and building fluency with gradual levels of support for practice and performance. One specific strategy that helps students understand the power of different words is the power of because, but, and so. This strategy can be found in The Writing Revolution by Judith C. Hochman and Natalie Wexler. In this activity, students need to understand the meanings of these 3 words, because, the why, but, which indicates a change of direction or the opposite, and so, the result. The teacher creates one sentence stem that can be turned into 3 different complex sentences. The example here is, humans need food and water to survive. Students then write 3 separate sentences using because, the why, then but, to change direction, then so, a result. This activity helps students write complex sentences, and it helps them think about the appropriate endings depending on the word, but, because, or so. Teachers can use this to help students with new academic vocabulary and concepts they are learning. Teachers can also assess students' ability to add information correctly and use more precise language. Another fun strategy that helps students with critical thinking as well as using academic language is which one doesn't belong. When teachers use this strategy, they need to make sure there are many factors that could go together so that students don't all see the same thing. It doesn't matter which one the student chooses. The important thing is that the student can defend why. This strategy helps with language output because students need to talk about the one they think doesn't belong with the others and why it doesn't belong. An example here could be, I think 1 doesn't belong because 1 is on a circle and the others are all on squares. Another variation of this strategy could be to ask students to create their own poster using the shapes, patterns, or really anything you are studying. To see more examples, click on the link above. There is also a lesson on the teaching channel if you would like to see more. The QSSSA strategy, or QSSSA strategy, uses the initial letter for each step. Q, the question, is to ask the students a question that requires a thoughtful response. The first S, signal, is to give the students time to think and process. You ask all students to give a signal when they have their response. Sometimes this is a thumbs up or put your pencil down or stand up. One great suggestion for high school students is to actually ask them to stand up before you give them the question. Then, when they have their response, they can sit down. The next S, a stem. This can actually be on the board when you give them the question. They can use the stem to help them with their response. As with anything, they don't have to use the stem, but it is an option if they would like to use it. The third S is share. This is their opportunity to tell another person. It is so important that each and every student gets an opportunity to talk and share his or her ideas. When students talk to just one other person, it is safe and not as scary. For multilingual learners, it is also an opportunity to hear another student use English. Finally, A, assess. It is important that students know someone will be asked to share for the entire class. When students know that they might be held accountable and have to answer in front of the whole class, it helps them stay focused and on task. This routine is adapted from Stanford's Understanding Language and the Stanford Center for Assessment Learning and Equity, Mathematical Language Routines. Within the strategy, students have to defend their opinions, and as they listen to others, they get stronger and clearer ideas to support their opinions. In step 1, the teacher poses a discussion topic, a problem, question, or prompt. On the next slide, we'll show an extension of this step. Step 2 is where the students think independently and record their ideas. In step 3, students will discuss with partners and defend their ideas, recording the ideas of their partners that help to make their position stronger and clearer. In step 4, students can revise their thinking. Finally, for step 5, or the last step, students reflect on the process and how their ideas got stronger and clearer each time. For extensions of this activity, Strategic Education Research Partnership has provided a number of examples that we have linked on the screen below as an additional resource. The opinion continuum can be used in step 1 of the Stronger and Clearer strategy. In this example, the teacher poses the question, do you think hunting is good or hunting is bad, or hunting is somewhere else along the continuum? Students mark where they think on the continuum and then write a reason for their opinion. Then students interact with other students to defend their opinions and to listen to their partner. They mark what their partner thought and put down their reason. As students interact with each other, their original opinion may change, and they may add the reasons of their partners. When students go back to their desks, they can write their opinion and the many reasons they've collected. This strategy was highlighted in the NDE Multilingual Learners December 2020 newsletter. You can click on the link on the screen to read more.
Throughout this webinar, we defined language output as a practical concept to enhance Tier 1 core and support the use of academic language. We reflected on the importance of language output for all students, and especially for multilingual learners. We identified current practices to enhance language output and shared language output strategies that you can apply at Tier 1 core immediately. Please feel free to contact any of us at NDE, NEMTSS, or Region 11 Comprehensive Center with questions you may have using the URLs and links on the screen. Thank you, and we hope you have a wonderful day.